LinguaSkill on the test takers and the recognizing organizations, you see the 80% and 81%. Do you know what that refers to? It actually refers to the percentage of people who think that LinguaSkill has helped them to feel more confident at work. And 81% think that it helps them to feel more confident when they communicate in English. If you look at that, those testimonials comes from the research. We did that globally, but the testimonials there comes from various countries. And then the 84% thinks that it helps them with their learning, the English learning. And 82% think that LinguaSkill helped them to progress in their career. So we can see that there's a lot of people who feel very confident and who think that, well, LinguaSkill actually helped them in their job and in their study. We had the different case studies of organizations recognizing LinguaSkill. The neighbor, Singapore, you probably heard of Nanyang Technological University. They use LinguaSkill for measuring the English language with their students. And then if you look at a bit far away, Air France use LinguaSkill. They've been using LinguaSkill for actually quite a long time to measure, for their recruitment process in many various jobs, recruitment that they have with Air France. So we don't have time to go through many case studies like that, but you can always go to our recognition website and look for organizations that recognize LinguaSkill globally. And then if you want to focus more on the Asia Pacific region, and we just put there for you a number of examples of organizations like Ministry of Education and Training in Vietnam. Oh, we have your Ministry of Higher Education in Malaysia. We have Thailand Ministry of Education, Indonesia Ministry. They all recognize LinguaSkill. We have a whole list of higher education institutions in Malaysia recognizing LinguaSkill, and then there are corporations in Asia Pacific that recognize LinguaSkill. But as I mentioned earlier, you can find the full list of organizations globally that recognize LinguaSkill on the Cambridge website. Well, when you take the LinguaSkill, the new LinguaSkill now, you will receive a certificate that you can download from Metrica account, and you have the picture, the photo there. The photo is the photo that you took on the test day, or you can have a photo uploaded on the system. So basically, you can use that LinguaSkill certificate for many different purposes. LinguaSkill has a very high level of test security, and I'm going to show you later why I mean that when I say that. Well, it's used for student admission, for graduation, to prove the proof of English language competency, and for job retention. As you can see, many multinational organizations actually recognize LinguaSkill for job recruitment and for job retention. The new LinguaSkill now has a report from B1 all the way to C2. And we're going to go into detail about reporting later. I think we have some sound there. I was hoping that we can help mute the participants there. Thank you very much, Anis.
Sure. Yes.
All right. Now, LinguaSkill is from Cambridge University. Breast and assessment. As you can see there, we have the whole range of Cambridge English qualifications aligned on the CEFR. You can see the IELTS there, which we produce, of course. And then besides that, we have the LinguaSkill. Now, many people would ask, like, come on, if you have IELTS, why do you also have LinguaSkill? No, this is because we want to make sure that our qualifications are fit for purpose. If you use LinguaSkill, if you take the LinguaSkill test as a proof of English language proficiency as an English teacher, then you probably don't need it to be as highly academic as you need IELTS to study overseas in a higher education in institution. So that's why we have LinguaSkill there for general English and / academic English. So all of those exams there from Cambridge, but today we're going to focus mostly on LinguaSkill. You can see that it is has been tried by all of those countries there for validity, reliability, impact, and practicality. Now, LinguaSkill is different from most of our other Cambridge English qualifications in that it is adaptive. And by adaptive, I mean that the level of difficulty of the question would change depending on the performance of the candidate. So for example, if you complete one question and if you do it correctly, the system will give you a more difficult question. But if you do it wrong, it will give you a lower, an easier question until the system is comfortable, is happy, is confident. That is the level of your language proficiency. And for that reason, our reading and listening test the length of the test might vary depending on your performance. And that is why we don't say that it is a fixed time. The duration would be flexible depending on your performance. The LinguaSkill test is also auto-marked with reading and listening, and it is hybrid marked, which is it is marked both by human and by a machine for speaking and for writing. So you can see there, it is adaptive testing for reading and listening and hybrid marking for speaking and writing. And adaptive for listening and reading. We have the certificate with candidate photo, and the results can be verified with Cambridge Results Verification website. If I put that on the table for you to see that clearly. Now you can see that the reading test is about 40 to 59 minutes. And again, the range there is because it is adaptive, remember? So if your answer is consistent, if you show a very consistent level of English, then maybe the system can determine your level within 40 minutes. But if your answer is quite inconsistent, then it might be confused. It might need to give you longer time to determine your level, in which case you may need to do up to 59 minutes. The same with listening. It's 59 minutes. I put there the new task type in case any one of you are familiar with the old LinguaSkill. Now, the new LinguaSkill is new because it has a few new task types. For example, in the reading test, you will find the gap text. I'm going to show you later what I mean by that. And the listening, there's a new task type called multi-matching. The writing test will be 55 minutes with 2 tasks. In task 1, you are required to write an email of about 50 words minimum 50 words. You can write longer than that. And in task 2, you will have to write an essay. If you're taking a general version, you will write an essay. If you're taking a business version, you will write a report of minimum 250 words with very clear scoring split, and we're going to show you the assessment criteria later. The speaking test will be 16 minutes with 5 different sections. Again, for any one of you who are familiar with the old LinguaSkill, you will find that section 2 of the speaking is very different from the old LinguaSkill in that you will have to summarize a tutorial in 40 seconds. The old LinguaSkill is where you just read out the sentences. In section 2, at the new LinguaSkill, it is a bit different. The reporting will be very convenient for you in that you will receive the result directly on the Metrica system. You will have access to your certificate. You can download your certificate. The certificate shows your candidate photo. And we have a very new function called My Best Score, in which you can choose the best score that you have to send to your organization that is recognizing the result. I'm going to show that clearly in the reporting stage for you. The verification, the result can be verified on the result verification website. All right. Now, just to check if you remember what we say in the reading, did you still remember the maximum time that you will have for the reading test? We say that it is adaptive, which is why it ranged from 40 minutes to maximum. How long did you still remember?
Most of them
59 minutes.
59.
Thank you.
59
Thank you
minutes.
very much. Yes, exactly.
59 minutes.
The reading is 59 minutes. The same with the listening is maximum 59 minutes. But as we say, you can finish it earlier if you show a very consistent level of language proficiency. Did you still remember the writing time, the writing test? How long
55.
does it take?
55 minutes.
Thank you very much. Exactly. The writing is 55 minutes. How about the speaking?
60 minutes.
Exactly. The speaking is 16
60
minutes.
minutes.
Exactly. All right. Now let's dive into them one by one. Let's have a look at the reading test first. And we say that the reading test is 59 minutes maximum. You can see there that is a task type that you will come across on the reading test. How do we call this? Well, we call that's the open gap fill, right? You don't have anything to choose, and you have to just complete the gap with your own words. How many words do you have to write there? Only one word. So you have to read the instruction very carefully to know how many words you have to put in there. In this case, you can type only one word in each gap. This is another task type for reading. You can see you still have the gap there, but you have the words there that you can choose to complete. So we call this the multiple choice gap fill. You have words here. You have to click it here to see the new words, and then you have to click here to choose the right word to go in here. This is another task type that you have for reading, and this is the multiple choice. I'm sure you're very familiar with this. So you would have to read this and then choose the correct answer here. And then you have to, when you finish one, you have to click here to go to the next sentence, and you have to scroll down here to go to the next questions here. After that, you will go to the arrow here to go to the next part. This is the new task type that I mentioned earlier. In this task type, you will have to read this, and then there's some gap here. Your job is to look for the right paragraph and drag the paragraph to this gap. So for example, you think, okay, this gap here at 17, to link between this paragraph and this paragraph, it should be B, for example. So you will have to drag it from here and drop it here. So for example, I drag paragraph A, and then I drop that there. That one is actually for higher level. So we want to check whether you are at level C1 or C2. So it requires you to have a bit more of the reading and to be able to tell the overall idea and to see which paragraph you would be able to put in there. Similarly, this is another new task type. It's gap sentence. But instead of having the full paragraph, now this time you have only one sentence, and you would still have to drag the sentence here and drop it into the right box. What are the tips for the reading? Well, of course, as we mentioned earlier, you have to read the instructions carefully for each task. For example, it asks you to write one word, you will only write one word. There's some sections that require you to do to listen, to read for gist, for overview ideas, so for the main ideas. So that's why you need to be able to scan the text for main ideas. In some sections, you would have to read for details. You may want to pay attention to the time management. Don't just stay at one sentence very long, because we know that we will have to complete quite a lot of sentences. So don't waste too much time on one sentence. Now, before we move to the next part, the reading, as I mentioned earlier, is adaptive. So you should try to finish all of the sentences before you go to the next one. Don't just skip. If you say, oh, okay, I will come back to the task later. Well, you cannot come back to the task later because it is adaptive. So the system needs to determine where your level is before it gives you the next question. Remember? So if you leave your answer blank for one sentence and jump to another, the system will be confused as to which level you are. And if you keep doing that for several times, the system might just give up and give you an asterisk instead of giving you a score. All right, so can I repeat? Don't skip the sentences for reading and also for listening, because the system needs to know your answer for one sentence before it gives you the next question. All right, now we're going to go to the next paper of listening test. Again, do you still remember how long it is maximum?
59 minutes.
Exactly. It is 59 minutes maximum, but of course you can finish it quicker. Similar to the reading test, this is the multiple choice. Very simple. You're very familiar with that already. This one again is the open gap fill. In this case, you will have to write no more than 3 words. So again, remember, always read the instructions. You will hear the recording twice. And remember, you cannot decide when you are going to start listening. The system will play the recording automatically. So when you go to the question, it will give you 45 seconds to read the sentences. So you have 45 seconds to read the sentences. You can scroll up and down here to read the whole reading. And then after 45 seconds, it will automatically play the recording for you. After it played the first time, it will play the second time. Okay, so you cannot decide when you are going to hit the button here. It will play automatically for you. And so, yeah, after you finish, and you would need to remember to scroll down here to go to the next one here. This is the new task type that I mentioned at the beginning. I say that there's a new task type for listening, and this is the new one. If you're familiar with your own Linguaskill, this is where you will have to listen to 5 different monologues of 5 different speakers. And for each speaker, you will have to choose the right answer here. So mainly the listening is for you to see whether you can listen for gist, listen for the main ideas. So you have to choose, you click the right answer here. Okay, where's the tip? The tip is you would need to look at the pictures and the questions and any available information before you listen. Remember, in some cases, it asks you to write 1 word, for example. In some cases, it asks you to write 3 words, for example. So make sure you read the instructions very carefully. The test designers, well, all teachers, I know that you're all familiar with this. The test designers may want to trick you into giving you the words of all of the answers, and so you might be very confused. For example, in this example, I was trying to give you one example and give you the listening. Unfortunately, I cannot play the audio on Google Meet here, but let me just try to explain to you. For example, in this question, speaker 2, you will listen to a monologue where the speaker will talk about the main difficulty that he faced before becoming successful in sport. And why it's actually his main problem is about having his house inconveniently located. So it's very, very far away from the sport facility. But in the monologue, you will hear him talking about his parents. You will hear him talking about the injury. You will hear him talking about his friends and about eating something. So they will try to trick you and make you think any of them could be the right answer. Now, some candidates might just hear the word parent, so they think, oh, that's parents. So let's choose the first answer. Yeah, so it is not, right? You may fall into that trap. So you have to focus on the main idea rather than listening for some specific words, because you will realize that they all have those specific words in every single sentence there. Yeah, so again, don't just focus on specific words. You have to focus on the general information, the main ideas, especially for this part. If you miss some information, don't worry. Just keep up with the audio, because you know that you will be able to listen again. So don't panic. Yeah, as we say, we want to focus. And then there's some longer tasks where you would need to focus on the details and not on the matching words. In some tasks where you want to focus on the overall ideas and again, not on the matching words. So that is about the reading and the listening test. Now we're going to go to the third test about writing. Did you still remember that there's 2 tasks in the writing? What is the overall time?
16 minutes.
50?
Sorry.
55
55
minutes. Exactly.
55
55 minutes. There's 2 parts. In part 1, you will have to write an email. Did you still remember the minimum number of words that you have to write?
50 words.
Exactly. You will have to write 50 words. How about the essay? What is the minimum number? 250 words. All right. Now, based on the number of words, can you guess the percentage of marks allocated for each part? In part 1, you will have to write 50 words. Can you guess what is the percentage of marks accounting for part 1? It is actually 25%. So that means that part 2 will account for 75% of the total mark. All right, we'll go to each part one by one. This is part 1. The systems recommend that you should spend about 15 minutes for this task, meaning that task 2 should be about 40 minutes. But of course, if you finish part 1 quickly, you can just go finish part 1 and then go to part 2. The beauty of this part, the writing test, is that you can move between part 1 and part 2 without worrying that you're going to get the asterisk. Remember, I told you that you should never jump the questions in reading and listening, because it is adaptive. If you jump the questions without answering, giving an answer, the system will be confused. But the writing is not adaptive. So there's 2 parts. You may want to go to click the arrow here to have a glimpse of what part 2 is about, and then go back to question 1 and complete it. You may want, for psychological reasons, you may want to say, okay, this is part one, but how about part two? Because you want to be mentally prepared, right? So you may want to just go to part two and look at the question, because once you know that you will be okay answering both parts, it will give you more reassurance to complete part one in peace, right? So you may want to do that. Don't worry, because the writing is not adaptive. So you can jump between two parts, or you can complete part one, go to part two, finish the essay for part two, and then go back to part one to make your email nicer. That is okay. All right. Now, the good thing about the computer-based test, of course, is that it gives you the word count automatically here. Now, remember, you have to write at least 50 words, at least 50 words. So it is not about the word that you should write. You should write 50 words or beyond 50 words. Remember, this is a proficiency test. So we want to measure your language proficiency. So make sure you write as many words as you can. And you have to be to the point. For example, in this exercise, you have to write an email to Mr. Takeda and say which course you are interested in, explain why you want to do the course, and ask about the cost of the course. You will need to address every single point in this email in order to get a good score. All right. Remember to address all of those 3 points in your email. Remember to write at least 50 words. It is okay to write 60 words. It is okay to write 80 words. The more, the better. But remember that you should be to the point. Yeah, so we said that we have to cover all of the bullet points, use a variety of language. So cover all of the bullet points. If they ask you to ask you for 3 bullet points, make sure you cover them all. Write as much as you can. And you don't need to include an email address, or you don't need to have the subject line. You can just start with "Dear Mr. Takeda." All right. So that is for part 1. This is an example of part 2. Again, the system suggests that you should spend about 40 minutes for the task. And you will have to write at least 250 words. This is normally task part 2 is about an argumentative essay. It should be about for or against. How far do you agree or disagree with something? To what extent do you agree or disagree with something? For example, in this task, there's a statement: playing the team sport should be compulsory for students in our school. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, you would probably come across this in most of your part 2 of the lingual skill writing. There's 2 ways that you can handle this. If they ask you to what extent do you agree or disagree with something, either you show that you fully agree or you fully disagree. All right? If you fully agree or fully disagree, there's always 3 parts that you have to write in your essay, right? The introduction, the body, and the conclusion. In your introduction, you would need to paraphrase that statement. You will need to state whether you fully agree or whether you fully disagree. And then in the body, you will need to give about 2 to 3 reasons to support your idea, to justify your statement. If you fully agree, why? If you fully disagree, why? You may want to say that, well, some people might disagree, but then you say why your view is stronger. And then in the conclusion, you will want to reconfirm your position. Now, the other option is when you want to keep a balanced view. So again, you will paraphrase you say that, oh, I agree to some extent, but there's some drawbacks there. In the body, you need 2 paragraphs. One to talk about the advantages and one to refer to the disadvantages. And then in the conclusion, you will state what to what extent you agree or disagree with that. All right. Let me give you an example for each of the options to illustrate clearly what I mean by that. So for example, again, coming back to that question, team sports should be compulsory for all school students. So if you think that, oh, I would like to fully agree. So it's in option 1, yeah? So you would do option 1. So we say, well, many people think that team sports should be required. I completely agree. All right, so you stated very, very clearly that you completely agree with the idea. Which means that in the body, you need a few ideas to support your opinion of why you agree. So first, you would say, okay, it's because of the health benefits. Firstly, blah, blah, I think that it is good because it helps improve our health. Then secondly, it helps to improve your social skills. And then finally, it helps to promote equality and opportunities. And then in the conclusion, you again restate your opinion that you completely agree that team sports should be compulsory. All right. So that is one way of approaching this. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So that is when you would want to show that you fully agree or you fully disagree. Now I'm going to show you the next example where you have a balanced view. Remember, we say that earlier. So you say, oh, many people think that school students should take part in team sport. Why some think that it should be their own choice? Many other people think that it should be compulsory. But in my opinion, they should not be compulsory. I do not think they should be compulsory. So again, you restate the sentence and you would give your opinion. And you, in the body, you need to show, remember, one advantage and one disadvantage, right? So you say that, oh, team sport can improve our health. So you begin with, you would show the advantage. Remember all of the words that I highlighted in yellow, they are the cohesive devices, the connectors that you would need to get a good score for your writing. And then you show the disadvantage on the other hand. And then, of course, in the conclusion, what would you do again? You will want to restate your opinion, right? So you say, oh, in conclusion, although team sport can offer many benefits, I still believe that it is better if students are allowed to choose their own activity. All right, so that is another way of approaching the writing test for LinguaSkill in part 2. All right, so the advice here is you have to read both tasks carefully, find out how you want to develop your answers. You may want to draft your answers first. We always give you a pen and paper so that you can plan that. You can plan that on a pen and paper. You also want to plan your time. We would recommend that you spend about 15 minutes in part 1 and 40 minutes in part 2. Of course, if you finish part 1 quicker, even better. You can go and you have more time in part 2. When you finish part 2, you can always go back and make your part 1 nicer. Remember, you should always use more advanced language for part 2. As I said earlier, you're free to move between the 2 parts without worrying that you're going to get an asterisk in your results. And there's no spell check. We know we're not going to give you the spell check function, so there's no spell check. And you should write as much as you can. Don't be limited by the minimum word. That is the minimum words. You should always write more than that. This is the writing assessment criteria. You can see that we would focus on the communicative achievement, organization, and language. If you don't complete the 3 bullet points, remember the email that you have to write to Mr. Takeda with 3 bullet points? If you don't cover all 3 bullet points, you will get a mark down for communicative achievement, because communicative achievement would cover task completion as well. If you don't complete the task, your mark for communicative achievement will be marked down. Organization, you know that you have to be well organized. You would have to use all of the cohesive devices, cohesion, all of that. I'm sure you know. Language, if you have problems, if you use complex sentences, if you use complex words, it will fall into the language category. If you make mistakes, grammar mistakes, that will be language. They will be marked down on language. All right. Just give me one more second. I'm going to drink some water before we go to the next part, the final part of speaking. All right. Do you still remember the total test time in speaking?
16 minutes.
Exactly. It's 16 minutes. But that is 16 minutes would include also the time that you listen to the task, the time that you listen to the instruction, and the waiting time, the thinking time as well. So the actual speaking time is actually a lot less than 16 minutes. If you are good at math, you probably have done the math now in the speaking time here. So you will know that the total speaking time is only over 6 minutes. All right, we will go through them one by one. This is the practice part. You will start with the practice part. The practice part will not be marked. So you will not be evaluated for this part. This part is only for you, a chance for you to practice recording your voice. So they will ask you 3 questions. And don't worry, you can say whatever you want because it will not be factored into your marks. They will ask you 3 questions like, what's your name? Where do you live? Are you studying or working at the moment? When you speak, you will see it here, and it shows you how much time you have left. And then you will go to part 1. This is when you would get your marks starting to be evaluated. Yeah, so be careful. In part 1, you will have 1 minute to talk about a topic. First, they will show you the topic, and they will give you 40 seconds to read the task and prepare what you are going to say. So within these 40 seconds, make sure you take time to jot down, to write down on a piece of paper what you want to say about this topic. Okay, where your favorite room is, what your favorite room looks like, why it is your favorite room. So you have 40 seconds to think about what you're going to say. And then the system is going to start saying that now you please speak. And it will give you 60 seconds to speak. You are going to hear the beep. Beep. Don't talk until you hear the beep. Okay, and make sure that you speak using all of the notes that you have prepared. Yeah, so this is some advice for you. You should justify your opinion. It's important to think about different reasons and examples. If, for example, the topic is talk about your favorite room, you have to explain why it is your favorite room. And you don't have to be factual. You don't have to be very honest about what your favorite room is. For example, if normally your favorite room is the kitchen, but then you think, oh, the kitchen is weird, so you have to talk about the kitchen. Don't worry, you can talk about any room. No one is going to go and investigate whether that is truly your favorite room, right? So it does not have to be factual. Try to speak for all of the allocated time. If it gives you 60 seconds, When you finish 60 seconds, when you finish all of your ideas and you realize that you still have time, just try to carry on speaking. Don't just stop. In this part, in part 1, you will not be penalized if you get interrupted before the end of your answers. So if you're talking about your favorite room and you say, oh, one more thing, I think that I love my bedroom the most because, and then it's finished because there's 16 seconds already comes up. Don't worry. You will not be penalized if you haven't got time to finish your answer in part 1. Is that clear? Yeah, so don't worry. In part 2, you will listen to a tutorial. So someone will talk about something. And then imagine that you have to listen, take notes, and summarize the keynote for a classmate who can't attend the tutorial. So I personally find this a combination of a listening test and a speaking test, because you need to be able to understand what was spoken before that. You need to listen to the tutorial and you need to take note, and after that you have to summarize the keynote to your friend. This is actually to test your ability to listen, your listening skill, your speaking skill, and also your mediation skill. If any of you are familiar with the Common European Framework, the new Common European Framework, we have a new skill called the mediation skill. That is where you would be able to listen and explain something to someone. It is actually quite a new task. So you would have to, you want to focus on that, listen, and then summarize the main points. So the advice here is take note as you listen, plan what you're going to say, make sure that what you say is clear and concise. Oh, and different from part 1, in part 2, try to finish what you want to say within the allotted time. The allotted time is 40 seconds. So try to summarize all of the key points within 40 seconds. If you make it too lengthy, and then after 40 seconds, you realize that there's still some important points from the tutorial that you haven't managed to say, that is not very good. Yeah, so make sure you summarize that within 40 seconds. This is part 2.2. The tutorial one is part 2.1. This is part 2.2. In part 2.2, you will hear 3 questions. You will have 20 seconds to read the task, and then you will have 20 seconds to answer the questions. You will see the main ideas of the questions. So you will know that you will be asked about the type of transport, how to improve the environments and the cities of the future, but you don't know exactly what questions will be asked. You only know that, okay, those are the main ideas that you will be asked. So for example, later you will hear that question is, what do you think is the best type of transport in a city? Or question 3, thinking about the future, how do you think cities will develop? But at least at the beginning, you will have 20 seconds to know roughly the type of questions you will be asked. So make sure you plan your questions, your answers in advance. And then when it is time for you to speak, try to speak right away. So advice for this part is look at the topic, look at the bullet points, think carefully about what question you would be asked and what kind of vocabulary that you may need to use. One good thing is that this section is marked completely independent from part 2.1. So don't worry. Even if you cannot finish part 2.1 very well, it will not affect part 2.2. All right. So don't worry, it will not impact your score. This is part 3. In part 3, you will read a text message, and then you will see some infographics. You will have 1 minute to look at, you will have 20 seconds to read a text message, and then 1 minute to look at all of the information, and then 90 seconds to give a recommendation. This part is a bit complicated. Let me walk you through one by one. First, they will show you a text message like that. So you know that you will be asked to provide recommendation to your friend Sammy about whether or not she should join that join a model with organic agriculture. And then you will read the infographics there, the infographics about the course that Sammy is thinking of taking. You have 1 minute to read through that. You don't, in your speaking, you don't have to use all of that information there. You just need to pick whatever information you think would be relevant for Sammy's recommendation. For example, she say, well, I don't mind hard work, especially if it is doing something exciting like working with animals. But after a long day of work, I really need a hot shower and a comfortable bed. And then when you read this, you see that, oh, there's problems with housing because there's only 10% of people who seem to be satisfied in the past with housing. So maybe the bed was not very comfortable. So you may want to pick on that and start talking about that. So you don't need to cover all of the information here. But your job is to need to decide what information you're going to pick out and talk about. And then after that, it will show you both the text message and the infographics there. Your job is to provide recommendation. That is when you start speaking, you have 90 seconds to speak about this. So the advice here is look carefully at the criteria in the text message. What exactly are they looking for in your recommendation? And then you will read at the visual information. We already say that you don't have to cover all of the information. Just pick the relevant bit. Yeah, so we know that, okay, my friend is looking for advice on here and advice on here. And this is what I want. And then, oh, she wants to do something exciting. Maybe this is exciting. This is exciting. So you just need to focus time talking about that. Part 4 of the speaking test is when you will have 40 seconds to prepare what you're going to say. And then you have 90 seconds to talk about that. This is quite similar to the writing test, part 2. It is quite an argumentative, for and against. So you have to consider both arguments for and arguments against the statement. So you have to use the thinking time. You have 40 seconds to think about that. So use the thinking time to jot down some ideas and to consider examples. And in this part, also try not to run out of time before you reach your conclusion. If you know that, okay, in this part, you need to provide your conclusion to something, right? You have 90 seconds. So when you are about, 70 seconds, 75 seconds, make sure you start talking about the conclusion. You don't want to reach the maximum time of 90 seconds and realize that you have not reached the conclusion yet. You want to say as much as possible. You want to stay on topic. You want to use the prompt, use a wide range of grammar and vocabulary as possible. Of course, don't give very brief or one-word response. Try to speak for all of the time that you have, and make sure you use the preparation time to think about what you're going to say. Always use a pen and paper that you're given to make notes. Technical recommendation. You know that when you're taking the speaking test, you have an earphone, an over-ear headphones with a mic, we call that a boom mic, like the lady here in the picture here. So make sure that you keep the microphone at the same distance. For example, you can see that I'm speaking. I'm speaking with my microphone here. Here. Yeah, and I should not just like move back and forth like this. It is not good. So make sure that you keep the microphone at the same distance from your mouth all the time. Try not to touch the microphone because it might create a noise. Try to keep your voice at the same volume. Don't just like sometimes go gently and then sometimes you shout. Don't do that. Important, wait until you hear the beep before you start talking. If you start talking before the beep, it is not recording your sentence there. Yeah. So make sure you start only after you hear the beep. The green bar will show you how much time you have left. So I would just want to summarize all of the advice there. Before you speak, use the preparation time wisely. Write down the bullet points that you want to talk about. Try to be organized in your thoughts. Listen carefully to the question. And during your response, try to answer as fully as possible. Focus on demonstrating the language skill. I think this is important. Language is more important than content. You should try to be important. Try to be to demonstrate your language ability as much as you can. And again, when I say, well, maybe I should rephrase that. It's not about more important than content, but it does not have to be factual. Especially, for example, when they ask you to talk about your favorite room. Yeah, you can just think about any room as long as you know how to justify your ideas. Or when they ask you to argue whether you're for or against something, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer as long as you can justify your ideas. Use your imagination. All right, the speaking assessment criteria is pronunciation, fluency, the language resource, and the discourse management. How you can manage your talk, how you can organize your talk, whether you use all of the, for example, if you in part 4, for example, you may want to say, well, in conclusion, to begin with, firstly, secondly, so you may want to organize your ideas well and nicely. All right, so I think we have gone through all of the tasks one by one for the Linguaskill test. Now we're going to look very quickly through the security features there, but we have Anis there who will answer any technical questions that you might have later. So you're going to take the test in the exam at the venue in the exam room. So we have the human invigilators, but also we have the AI invigilators as well. So we call that the double proctoring. So we have both human and AI proctors. We also have voice recognition to make sure that when you start taking the test, you need to show your face and you need to talk, to say something so that the system recognizes your voice. Later, when you take the test, it will check your voice again to make sure that the voice match whatever voice that you had at the beginning. But of course, we would be more concerned about that if you take the test at home. Now, here in this case, you will take the test at the venue anyway, so shouldn't be worried. We're going to check your ID to make sure that the right person is taking the test. The result reporting. Remember, I mentioned my best score, and I promise that I'm going to say more clearly about what I mean by that. My best score means that we will allow you to take the modules as many times as you can until you are happy with your score. and the best score will be shown on the system for you. For example, you take the test here. This candidate will take the listening once, but he takes the reading 5 times. He takes the writing 2 times. So the best score will select your best score here. It will select your best score here. It's smart enough to select the best score. And then once you select that, then you will share your result. So you select this, you share your result, and it will show you the best score here. When you're happy with this, you can either download a certificate, you print it out, you submit that to your organization, or you can share the result directly with your organizer, your recognizing organization. You share this here to RVS, Result Verification Service. Then your employer, your ministry, your school will be able to access that result that you share. So for example, in this case, you have your name, you have your date of birth, you have the candidate's photo, you have your test result that you have already selected through My Best Score. The result will show you the Cambridge English Scale score and the CFR level. You see the score here, the CFR level, the test date. Of course, if you take the test on the same date, and if your employer would be able to see whether you take the test on the same date, then they know that you probably take it the first time. But if they see that you take the test date on the test date is on different dates, then they would probably figure out that you have already taken it several times and selected your best score. And that is the certificate. I think I showed that earlier. All right. Well, you spent a long time listening to me. This is where we're going to look at how you can prepare for the exam. Firstly, we have a lot of free resources for you on the Cambridge website. If you go to this link here, that is the QR code, then you will have access to a lot of sample papers, practice tests that we have. We also have the Write and Improve and the Speak and Improve here if you want to improve your speaking and your writing skill. All of these are free. You can see if you go to that website with the QR code there, we see that you have the free online sample test, support video, advice, assessment criteria, all of these here you can access. And then you have online sample tests. If you go to, in your case, you take the Linguaskill, you go here, and then you have all of the 4 tests that you can have access to. Yeah, all of these. But there is a more structured way of support, because if you might find out that the free resources is a bit confusing. You don't know where to start. You don't know how to get on. This is a better way. We have a course called the Linguaskill Online Tutor. It takes you through all of the step-by-step of what you should know, what you should learn, how you should prepare for each paper of the Linguaskill. The Linguaskill Online Tutor takes around 10 to 15 hours to complete. And it covers everything that you need to know and you need to prepare to get the best score for Linguaskill. And we give you a very special discount there if you go to the QR code there. That is the QR code that Sasbadi have for only ELTC teachers. And you can have that access there, and then you can take the course. Let me just show you quickly how it looks like. If you have access, then you would have to go to Cambridge One. That is Cambridge platform for all of the courses, the online courses. Then you go to the Linguaskill Online Tutor. Here, you go to Linguaskill. We normally give you 1 year of using, so you can have 1 year to use all of the to go through the course. This is what it looks like if once you log into the course, you have the listening overview, reading overview, speaking and writing overview. You see, we have overview of each of the test type that we just mentioned. Then there would be advice, detailed advice and guidance for every single task type. There will be examples, there would be practice tests for every task type. And you can try that when you submit, and then it will show you, it will correct if you show you whether it is correct or incorrect. If it is correct, why? If it is incorrect, why? So very, very detailed guidance. Yeah, if you if you select something wrong, it will say that, oh, this is correct. The correct answer is something else. So very, very clear guidance. If you don't want, if you're not sure whether you would like to buy the course, you can just go to the demo first, and then that is one is free. Again, it is on Cambridge One. You can go to the demo to have a look at the reading here, and then to see whether that's something that you would like to buy. It's actually it's quite low cost anyway. That is a special price that we gave to only ELTC teachers. The other option is you may want to buy a book. It's a printed book. If you're not comfortable with using the online one, then you can buy the Linguaskill Trainer. And you may want to check with Susbuddy if you want to buy the book. You want to hold the book. You say, oh, okay, I hold the book here, so I feel happy. But I still strongly suggest that because the Linguaskill test is going to be taken online, I still think that it makes a lot more sense to be prepared online too. All right, so we cover 4 different parts today. First, we look at Linguaskill. We look at who recognize Linguaskill, why Linguaskill is important. And then we look at the organizations that recognize Linguaskill. And then we look at all of the test components of the Linguaskill. We went through one by one of the task type in each of the tests of Linguaskill, of reading, listening, writing, and speaking. And then we look at a few support materials that you can have to successfully prepare yourself for Linguaskill. I think that is it from me. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and I will give you time if you have any questions. I will stop
I have a question.
sharing. Yes, please.
I have 2 questions actually. The first one is about the writing part. Regarding the second part of the assessment, will it be always argumentative, or will there be any type of essays?
Sorry, can you please repeat your question? Let me just put it down.
My first question, for the part 2 of the essay, will it always be argumentative, or will there be any different type of essay included?
Okay.
And my second question is, for part 2, there will be bullet points, right? Do we have to use all 3?
Do we have to use what?
All of the bullet points provided.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Is that all of your question?
Yes.
Okay. Just hold on. I'm not quite sure why I cannot stop sharing. Go back here. Not sure. Stop presenting.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I mean, I clicked this, but it's
Kira,
Yeah.
I think something happened to her.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
thing. The internet, I
That's
think.
really.
Online.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Hi, sorry. Sorry, I'm not quite sure why I got locked out. All right. Your questions again. So you had two questions, and in question one, you were asking whether part two of the writing is it always argumentative. The answer is almost yes. If you're taking the linguaskill business, then it will be a report. But if you take a linguaskill general, it will most likely a kind of argumentative essay. In part, your second question is about part one of the writing. There's 3 bullet points. Do you have to address all of those 3 bullet points? The answer is yes, 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 yes. You always have to answer all of those bullet points to get the best score for your task completion. Okay, if you miss one of those points, you will not get the best score for the communicative achievement. So the answer is yes. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other questions, please? I see someone raising his hand. Mr. Janun?
Sorry, that was me. I forgot to put it down.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Do we have anyone else who?
Yeah, hi. Can
Yes.
I ask one?
Yes,
Right.
please.
Can I know what is the duration for me to do patching after my first test? To retake the test?
Oh, there's no time, so you can retake it anytime.
I mean, is there a duration from my first test? Is there a duration of, I mean, I have taken it in January, for example, and is there a time frame, or I can do it after 2 years? Is there a duration for that?
That's a very, very good question. I got exactly the same question earlier, and I was asking my colleagues. I already mentioned that I'm going to check with my colleagues. I did ask that to my colleagues. I haven't got the answer yet, but so I will reply. I will answer that. I'll send that to Anis, and then she's going to share that back to you. But
Yeah,
yes, I got
because they
exactly the
are-
same. Yes.
Yeah, because there are candidates who sat for the test in 2023, remember, Anis? And they were asking whether if they can do the retake or patching now. So I wasn't unsure whether they can still do it, or is there a time frame of 6 months to a year from the first test date?
Well, I'm very sure that if you take the test in 2023, you will have to take a new test because the linguaskill now is very, very different. As I mentioned, the old linguaskill is from A1 to C1. The new linguaskill is from B1 to C2.
C2.
So, and with the new linguaskill, you get the certificate, you get the result verification, everything. The task type is also very different. The writing is different. The speaking is different. So yes, if you took it in 2023, you definitely
And you have to.
New test. But the
So now
is if you take it now, and then if you take it in 2 years' time, whether it is allowed, that is something I need to check with my colleagues. Yes.
Yeah, that means now it will take us, like if I take it now in December, when what is the duration time frame that I have to do my patching? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's good. Yes. Maybe we should get back on that also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think
So,
there's some question
any
in
questions? Yeah. What is the procedure to retake the test? So I think that one we will get back to you via your facilitator on how to do the retest.
Yes. The procedure, I think that has to do with ELTC, right? So you give the answer on that. Thank you. I see a teacher, Miss Fairhurst, has raised her hand. Yes, please.
Sorry, I have a question about listening.
Sorry, I don't think we can hear you now.
Yeah.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. All right. So I have a question about listening. So the task about multi-matching the 5 speaker.
Yes.
Okay, so does it mean that one speaker, one answer, or there are going to be like more answers for one speaker?
One speaker, one answer.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, I believe that Mr. Going Ming Xu.
Hello, good morning, doctor. I have two questions here. My first question is about reading and listening. You mentioned that we can't skip the questions, right? So
Yes.
meaning that for the gap filling questions, example for gap one, we must click for an answer for gap one, then only we can move on to gap two. Is it like that?
Well, I think it you have to complete one question. So if it is in one reading, one reading, there's a lot of gaps. You don't need to, because it is considered as one question anyway. So you don't need to worry. You can go to the gap and then come back, as long as it is within one sentence or one paragraph, then it is okay. But once you finish that paragraph and you go to the next question, you cannot skip. You know what I mean? But when you go to the test, the practice test, you will know what I mean. You have already see all of the gap there already in one paragraph, so it is okay. You can complete all of those gap there. You can go to gap number 2 first, and then come back to gap number 1, as long as it is within one paragraph. I hope I'm
Oh.
clear.
It's in one paragraph. All right.
Yeah.
And then Doctor, sorry, second question. For the writing part, there's one part about argumentative essay,
Yes.
meaning in that essay, we need to write maybe one paragraph about agree, then the next paragraph about disagree, then the last part is about conclusion, whether we agree or disagree. Is it like that? I don't quite understand.
Yes. In part 2 of the writing, it is most often the argumentative essay, where you have to start with the introduction and then the body and the conclusion, right? So we say that if you fully agree or fully disagree with something, you need a few paragraphs in your body to justify your opinion. If you want to keep a balanced view, then you will need one paragraph for advantage and one paragraph for disadvantage before you reach your conclusion. But you always need an introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The body should be 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs.
So meaning that we have two choices to write our essay. The first choice is we can just write fully agree. The whole essay is about fully agree or fully disagree. And the second choice is we mix two views. Is it like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you will decide what you want to express how you want to express your opinion, right? I mean, when they ask you, like, to what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Smoking in public should be banned, for example. If they say, oh, smoking in public should be banned, it's up to you to decide whether you agree that smoking in public should be banned or smoking in public should not be banned, or you think, oh, some people think that smoking in public should be banned, some people think that smoking in public should not be banned. But in my opinion, we should leave that decision for anyone to decide, for example. So it is up to you to decide how you want to state your opinion. But then if you want to state your opinion in whether you fully agree or whether you fully disagree, you always need an introduction, the body, and the conclusion.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can see that we have a few other messages. Let me just try to see. The examination, is the exam in this school holiday? I think that would be for ELTC to answer on the date.
Like I've informed that we will be informing you on your test dates, time, and when you through your respective PPT and JPN. Okay, just wait for an official letter which will be issued to you regarding that. And no, we will not have the test during the school holidays. We are taking off with some districts during this December before the school break. The rest of you, which we have not contacted, you'll be taking it in January onwards. Okay, so don't worry, we won't be bothering you during the school holidays. The school holidays is for you to do your practice. Okay? Only a few states are taking off in December. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw a question. Is there, if there's a connection interruption, is the test invalid? That's a very good question. Thank you. Well, the test will not be invalid. If there's an internet interruption, then you will be stopped when the test is disconnected. And when you reconnect, you will have another, the test will stop immediately at the time that you have the interruption. And when you have the connection again, the test will continue exactly at the point of your interruption, but you will most likely get another question. Is that clear? So you will probably get another question, but you won't lose anything that you have submitted earlier until the point that you lose connection. So don't worry. Once you're on the internet, you just completed all of the sentences. If there's any interruption, then you will just only, when you have it reconnected, it will continue exactly where you had your last connection, and then you have a new question. I saw someone asking about the headphone. Do you have to bring your own headphone? I believe the answer is no, right? I believe that Saspati will provide that.
It, yeah, thank you. It depends on the test center, right? If they are going to sit for the test in ELTC or in the Cambridge or the Sasbadi test center, then definitely everything is provided. But again, if those test centers are scheduled by their district officers or their JPN, then it all depends on the test centers. So some test centers, they do not provide headsets, so most probably candidate will have to carry their own. But we will keep them informed on all this via the letters that we will send them. Yeah. So don't worry, candidates. Just wait for the letters and the updates that we will be getting mostly from your facilitators, of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw that someone asked if you have more questions after this. Yes, if you have more questions, always just send that to us. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you would have. Someone asked about, do we need to get C1 for all of the skills in order to achieve the overall C1? No, you don't need to. You only need to, the average score, we will look at the average score. So if some of the skill is below C1, but some of the skill is higher than C1, when we look at the overall score, and then so your overall can still be C1, even if some of the skill is not up to C1.
So is the average score 180 and above to get a C1?
Well, we have the Linguaskill report. If let me just look at that again and show you. There's a very clear scoring system at the back of the Linguaskill report that shows you what score you need to reach a certain level. I will share that with you. I cannot be precise now in my answer, so I don't want to just answer that randomly now. But there's a very, very clear
I saw it in one of the websites somewhere mentioning that it's 180 and above. But again, we'll keep that updated with our candidates soon.
Yes,
right.
We'll send that. We'll send that to you. We'll send that to you along with your question about how long will your score be be valid for combining that with my best score. So I'll get back to you on that too.
Yeah. And there's a question here. Can we have a toilet break in between the sections? Yeah. After every module, you can go for a toilet break. There are 4 modules, right? Listening, speaking, reading, writing. You can only go after you have completed one module. You have submitted one module, then you can go for your breaks, not in between it. So that means if you are done with listening, you want to go a toilet break before you go for your another component, another module, then you may go. Right? Similarly, like how we've been practicing all this while. Will we have a recording for this? Yeah, inshallah, we'll be sharing the recording via your facilitators. Okay, once we get it ready, and you may also view it on YouTube since we have already projected this on YouTube as well. It'll be there once the recording is available.
I see that someone's asking if there's any weight for each skill. No, the answer is no. There's no weight. So each of the skill will be equally important.
Yeah. Anything else that we miss? That's all. Any other questions to the speaker, for the speaker here?
Well, I believe that there's none now, but again, remember that if you think of any questions later, please do not hesitate to just let us know. We will always be more than happy to answer any questions that you would have. Thank you so very much.
Sorry, I do have one question.
Yeah.
You did mention that for the writing part, right? Just write as many words as we want, right? But
Yes.
what are the ideas, numbers of words that we need to write for both parts?
Well,
Well,
you know that there's the limitation of time, right? So you have only 55 minutes to write. So you cannot write infinitely. You cannot write thousands of words within those 55 minutes anyway. So our suggestion is that you write as much as you can, but as long as you have, well-organized ideas. So rather than rambling for 500 words without any organization, right? It's better to write 250, 280 words while the ideas is well organized. But since you have that time limits there, you cannot go, too long anyway.
Yeah.
The suggestion here is that you should not be worried that you go too long. If they say, oh, write 250 words, what happens if you write 350 words? No worries, even better. This is the proficiency test. We want to see how far you can go. We want you to demonstrate as much of your language ability as possible. But of course, within 55 minutes, you cannot write 500 words, I believe. So yeah, the more, the better. As long as it still stay on the point, as long as you don't ramble, and as long as you still have your ideas very well organized.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I also believe that you can write. There's no penalizing on the maximum number of words, but you should have a
Absolutely.
concluding remark of your writing, right?
Yes.
So it'd be no point writing, keep on writing, typing, and there's no concluding remark. So that concluding remark would be quite vital as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. As we say, you need the opening, you need the introduction, you need the body, you need the conclusion. You definitely need that. If you don't have the conclusion, and if you have 500 words on the body, you won't be able to get any good score for communicative achievement, right? So make sure that you have all of that with you before you think of writing more.
Okay. With that, can we end the session then? Yeah, so I think I would like to say a heartfelt appreciation. Thank you to our speaker, Miss Yuan Nam. Am I saying it rightly? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Wind farm. Think about the wind farm.
Oh,
The wind farm. Yes, wind farm Lauren, my name.
I see. Okay, Wind Farm, thank you for the insightful, for the informative sharing about Linguaskill. I think your expertise, and it's been very clear. It has really certainly helped us to understand how to go about with the testing. And also a big thank you to our Sasbadi team, Anis and team, for coordinating and organizing this session. Okay, we truly appreciate all your assistance here. Okay, and to everyone, to all our course participants, candidates who joined us live today, thank you for your time, commitment, and active participation. We really value your presence. And yeah, sorry for all the inconvenience caused earlier, due to all our technical issues. Thank you for the patience and understanding, and I think we are professional enough to navigate the situation as fast as we could. Okay, for those who have missed the session again, you can revisit the content via YouTube. We will also be sharing the recording, and definitely there will be another session, okay, on the 28th of January. So you can pass around that to your friends who have missed it. And we look forward to see y'all again soon. So I pass the session back to Anis, yeah, to end, and the speaker maybe you want.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Thank you all for joining today's webinar. Like what Dr. Zubaida said, despite the issue with the webinar link, we still managed to have a wonderful, informative sessions, and we truly appreciate your passion. A special thank to LTC management team for the utmost contributions and collaboration in the last minute arrangement. We delighted that our Google Meet session filled up to 500 participants and that over 300 more join us via YouTube Live. We hope today's insight give you a greater confidence as you prepare for your own English proficiency test. A huge thank you to our speaker for the valuable guidance, and to our organizer, Cambridge Malaysia, for making this session possible. We'll be sharing the recording, as Dr. Azubaida said, and the materials to buy, the QR code and so on. Keep practicing. Most of the teachers ask us to wish good luck. Yes, good luck and all the best.
Yeah.
Stay motivated and have a wonderful day. Anything else, Dr. Zubaida?
No, I will also say that. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Good luck, and see you all soon. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take
Thank you very
care.
much, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
dear.
Thank
Nice meeting you.
Thank you so
Have a nice
much.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you so
everyone for your
much.
time.
Bye.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Panyu.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Zul.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well